Good afternoon, and welcome to one of the most beautiful places on earth. My name is Kinley Walsh-Lawler, and I'm the president and CEO of Parks California. We're the statutory nonprofit partner of California State Parks, working with parks and with communities statewide. We are so honored to be with you today from this incredibly special place to help call attention to the first partnership of its kind here in California. This partnership, whose model can and should be scaled statewide, takes place here on the beautiful North Coast and is between the Yurok Tribe and California State Park. Today, we will meet incredible people who've been working on this for many years. So let's get started.
Ayakui, Kishan Lara-Cooper, Nakuchas, Anachin, Kina, Nipsech Yoxi off, Maloyek, Wanek Walega, Esewe, Pureweg, Anal, Lenny, Pura, Necheka Hupa Otwen, Chah-pekw, Esi Espel, Esi Morik, Mewachak. We're happy to see you all here today. Thank you for joining us in this celebration. The Chah-pekw Arcata Center for us symbolizes a shift in the paradigm of institutional framework of the state park system. My dad's grandmother has shared stories with him as a young child when they would paddle across this lagoon here behind us. And she would speak to him of a time when her grandparents would be in ceremony or would be gathering as a family, and massacres would happen during that period of time. In our history throughout the state of California, we had contact with non-Indigenous people at a later point of time than the rest of the United States. And there was an attempted extermination of our Indigenous peoples. And for this reason, common citizens of the state of California would hunt Indigenous peoples. This happened so frequently here in this place at Chah-pekw that the people of the villages actually had hiding places to hide when these massacres would occur. Later, several years later, some of these massacres were identified by archaeologists, and they were used so frequently they were identified as actual villages because people had hid there so often. And throughout my grandmother's lifetime, in teaching and investing in her children and her grandchildren Indigenous knowledge, it was an unsafe time to have ceremony. It was a time when many Indigenous peoples were not yet considered citizens in the United States. It was a time when children were being kidnapped and taken to boarding schools and having their names, culture, regalia, identity stripped from them. But those children grew up and they fought for the revitalization and for the preservation of Indigenous knowledge and of our way of life. And so throughout my father's lifetime, he's had a love and connection to this place. He's grown up here as his grandparents and his great-grandparents have done, but have fought for the protection of the grave sites, protection of ceremony, protection of the culture of Indigenous people. And the partnership with state parks had not yet started at that time. In my lifetime, growing up with my siblings up on the hill at Usamich, watching over Chah-pekw and the villages in the area, and witnessing people coming in to dig in the cemeteries, and always knowing and being aware of watching so that we could protect these places. And now here we are today in partnership with the state park, and having a visitor center where people can think of as Indigenous peoples, Yurok people travel up and down the freeway. They can come in and they can be a part of this place. They can share knowledge, they can visit, they can rebuild this connection by having this visitor center. In addition, we now have an opportunity where people who are traveling through can stop and be exposed to Indigenous information from perspective of Indigenous peoples. It's an act of testimonial justice. When we speak of history, when we learn about spaces, when we learn about the geography of the world, oftentimes we hear it from one narrative. We hear it from a textbook, or we hear it from one main person that's sharing the story. This center provides an opportunity to hear a perspective, to hear history that might not have ever been shared before. And in doing that and learning about people themselves and learning about the place from an Indigenous perspective, people that have been here for thousands of years, who have a relationship with the natural, spiritual environments of this place. To share these treasures with the general public is a gift. And we take a moment to silence ourselves and to listen to the history, the culture, and the worldview of people, we ourselves become more enriched in that process. And so this Chah-pekw Visitor Center is a gift to all of us. It's a gift to those that travel through, who have the opportunity to be exposed to new information, to be exposed to what's culturally appropriate, to be exposed and aware of cultural consumption and exploitation as well. And also to people who are from here to have the opportunity to share their stories, to finally be heard in the process.
All right, Lamar, come on in.
And now I'd like to introduce you to Yurok Chairman Joseph L. James.
Aikwi, Nick now, Joseph L. James, Chairman of the Yurok Tribe. I come from the village of Shregong, located on the lower Klamath River. Today is a beautiful and proud day for the Yurok people. We're here to celebrate the partnership that we have with the state parks, with the Stone Lagoon Visitor Center here at Chah-pekw Village. You know, we as Yurok people, we're world renewal people, we're prayer people, basket people, traditional people, salmon people, river people. Today, I'm standing next to a play got a jump dance basket. Why I mention that is we pray and we dance for balance. And today is our prayers are answered. Today, we're highlighting the partnership of that balance and that partnership with the state parks. We have come a long way with the state. Our ancestors will be proud of us today here, highlighting the achievements that we're doing here today for our children, future generations, being able to participate. And again, it's truly an honor and a privilege here for this day. And with that, I want to say thank you. Walt Lara.
Now I'd like to introduce you to California State Park Director Armando Quintero.
Good afternoon. It is my sincerest and deep honor to be here with the Yurok people, the chairman and the council members of the Yurok people here in Northern California. Parks are about the world. Parks are about culture. And what we are working on together here, what has come about here, has been the result of a number of people from the Yurok community and from state parks becoming friends, having meals together, talking story, sharing dreams, and thinking about a place that today we now call Stone Lagoon Visitor Center. The beauty of this spot is that today you get to visit deep time. You get to visit the deep time of a planet, and you get to visit the deep time of a people. It's here where the Yurok people themselves will tell you the stories of their culture, of their families, of their ancestors, and they set the stage for a future when we all can really celebrate the cultures of every community that comes here to Stone Lagoon. Again, it's a deep and sincere honor that I'm here today with tremendous gratitude for all the people in the room and the people of state parks in the Yurok community. And thank you, Chairman.
And now let me introduce Victor Belias, State Park District Superintendent, North Coast District.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for your kind words, Chairman James. Thank you for your kind words, Director Quintero. We're doing a celebration today. We've had a number of firsts, and one of the things that we're also celebrating today is the reintroduction of Pregonish, California condor, to the landscape after a long absence. You can't see, I'm looking around the room and I see people that have spent their lifetime, multiple generations revitalizing your culture. And it's going to be and is featured in the room that I'm standing in now at the Stone Lagoon Visitor Center. This is a special place. For a long time, parks weren't always a welcoming place for Indigenous people. We've been working hard to establish relationships and to change that. I think that when we think about what we're doing here, it's a joint powers authority, it's a government-to-government relationship, and it's honoring people that have been here a long time with the proper level of respect. This has been some of the most joyous stuff I've ever done in my career. I've made some friendships and built relationships, and that is what good government is. It's establishing relationships with folks in surrounding communities, and it's also enriching personally for state park staff, for Yurok community, for all the visitors that come through here. A lot of times in the past, it would be somebody else telling Indigenous people's story. That isn't the case here. We have a number, I'm looking at them now, you'll see them in a minute, a number of folks that work for the Yurok Tribe and also work for state parks that are telling the stories that haven't been heard. Local community understands that, understands what the story is. And this is an opportunity to bring in, reach a wider audience. And when you come into a special place like Chah-pekw, Stone Lagoon, you're going to have Indigenous people that speak to the truth of the area and speak to the beauty of the area. And it's just it's a blessing for state parks. It's a blessing for, I'm going to be presumptuous, for the Yurok Tribe to have this relationship. And come check out the visitor center. It's stunning, and you're going to see four of the folks that put that together. Thank you all very much.
Ayikwe. Neknau Tiana Williams-Clausen, and I'm the director of the Yurok Tribe Wildlife Department. I'm a Yurok tribal member. I come from the village of Vasquez. I started with the Yurok Tribe Wildlife Department with its very inception, which began with reintroduction of California condor as our flagship species. Our relationship with condor goes all the way back to the beginning of time, before humans were really even the people of the world, when the animals or the spirits of the world were the ones who were helping manage and caretake it. Ultimately, it was decided by the Tribal Park Task Force, which was a panel of our elders specifically tasked with identifying cultural and ecological restoration needs, who decided that Preganish was the single most important land-based animal to bring back to Yurok ancestral territory. And that has a lot to do with his great cultural importance to us as a tribe. The actual condor restoration project didn't get its start until 2008, when we received funding from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service through a tribal wildlife grant to assess the feasibility of bringing condor home. I talk a lot about our traditional role in managing our landscape and our people for health and wellness, but of course that's looking at a point in time as well. And from a restoration perspective, or from a world renewal and balance perspective, of course, we don't exist at one moment in time. Everything that we do is based off of our elders' hopes and dreams, which is based off of our ancestors, which is based off of our story since the beginning of time. And so I, as a young woman when I started this, was very honored to be a part of bringing the dreams of my elders to fruition. I'm now significantly older. I have more gray hair. I also have a 3-year-old daughter. She's going to grow up having condors in her sky for her entire life. She's not even going to know what it is to miss condors. She will always live in relationship with condors, which is really what this whole program is all about, bringing condor home, back into our communities, back into our conversations, back into our households and into the minds and hearts of our children on behalf of the hearts of our elders.
And now I'd like to introduce Rosie Claiborne, Tribal Heritage Preservation Officer for the Yurok Tribe.
Ayikwe Neknau Rosie Claiborne. I'm the Tribal Heritage Preservation Officer for the Yurok Tribe. I have Maya Rayner and Princess Colgrove, who are state park interpreters, but are also tribal people and descendants of the coastline. I have Nicole Peters, who's the interpretation coordinator for the Yurok Tribe, and will be overseeing the Stone Lagoon Chah-pekw Arcata Visitor Center. We're really excited to share this with you and have you folks come and visit us. The center means a lot, even though it's a small space. It represents a continuation of time, starting, from Nahikon, or the beginning of time, and the ties that people have to this land, all the way through history until now. The people from this place still identify this as their home. And we're really excited to welcome you here, and hopefully you come visit us in person. That's what I got. Cheers.
1, 2, 3. There we go.